would like to start by speaking about how several people wanted to kind of share their thoughts, but we didn't get their abstracts in the abstract form that we wanted. So this is your chance to come up and speak. One of the things which had really touched me was something which came from our Rex fellow over here. Her name is Shamla ji, and she had sent me something on education, and it kind of touched a chord because there were some very, very inspiring thoughts over there. So I would request Shamla ji to come up and speak, to first start about her thoughts about how the education reforms could happen with citizen action. And then we shall open the mic for anybody else who wants to come up. May we have the microphone, please?
Hello everyone. I would like to speak about what I do. And in that, I like to quote certain instances where things happen where there was no hope at all. After I've done my engineering from Institute of Engineers, India, and I shifted from Hyderabad to Mumbai. After coming to Mumbai, I've done a PG diploma in systems management, and I worked for a concern. Before that, I worked for Procter & Gamble also in Hyderabad. And very instantly, I get bored with mechanical work. Anything which is happening the same way, routine, I get bored. And I cannot work from 9 to 5. I don't mind working from, morning till late in the night. But there should be some thrill. It should touch my heart. Otherwise, I just can't work. Something routine going, I feel chained. So it so happened that, when I came to Bombay, I worked for a software concern where, I was getting promotions and all that. But somehow I was not able to express myself. And then one more thing is also there, that I want to work more, I want to earn more. Okay. So then at that point of time, I got associated with a tutors bureau where I was going to the student's house and I was paid on hourly basis. Then I had seen certain things. There are a lot of behavioral problems in children. I had seen a different dimension there where the children they don't have anybody to confide. Just in the morning, I was speaking to them. I said, I handle people who are suffering from affluence. Then he said, how did you coin that word? I said, from my own experience. Because of affluence, the richness, people are suffering, which I had seen, and then I thought there's another dimension. These children need counseling. The parents need counseling. They need to be made to understand that whatever education, whatever they're doing, it is not just the person's need who would come and teach. It is their need to understand certain things and, become better in life. So at that point of time, I started off counseling the students, helping them to set their lifestyles, habits, and behavioral correction. All these things happen. I would like to quote certain cases which would be interesting. One, he was an ex-minister and is sitting MLA now. Congress MLA, that man, he was very busy with his, politics, etc. and all that. His wife was running a business. They have a BAST, a bus company, which they make in Mumbai. And then they have 3 children. Eldest is the daughter, she's normal, and the middle one is a son, and the youngest is another son. The middle one, that boy was left at home for 14 years because he refused to go to school, and then he was left at home between 4 walls. His schedule was, he used to get up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, sleep at 3 o'clock in the night. He would only watch TV, only films, and that's it. And in some second grade or so, that fellow stopped going to the school. He refused to go. Parents did not have time to see what he wanted. See, I would like to, reiterate here. Just see the pathetic situation. The boy did not develop any social skills. He was 14 when they advertised for a tutor. Actually, they advertised for a special educator. By then, I handled a lot of cases of the sort. Then I responded to them. I said, I'm not a special educator, but I can definitely, feel what the child needs. And maybe I can use a lot of innovative methods to, put him in line. Then when I started going to their house at 11 o'clock, I told them, leave the child with me. He was almost 6 feet 2 inches by then, almost double my height. So he was with me in a room, and then those people, all the others used to be, in the morning, the house used to look like a cinema theater. All popcorn packets, chips packets, all thrown here and there. The servants used to go on sweeping. And this boy, he would just sit. He would not talk. He developed certain autistic, symptoms and all, maybe because he never interacted with people. No social skills at all. He would not call address his father as daddy or father or baba, nothing. And he would not talk. He was not able to even swallow his saliva. The saliva used to flow because he never used to speak. When we speak, we swallow the saliva. That is how we start doing. Then my daughter at that point of time, I'm talking about 98 or so. So this boy, my daughter was a very young girl at that time. I used to carry a lot of her games, interactive games. And I used to sit in front of him and I used to play all those things. And he was slowly. My challenge was how to make him, first of all, talk and get confidence, And then one day it started raining. He was attracted to the games. I used to sit patiently for 2 hours and return. And then one day he said, "Barish ho raha hai." I said, "हाँ, बारिश हो रहा है, तो मेरा बर्थडे आएगा." अच्छा, तो तुम्हारा बर्थडे आएगा और क्या करेगा? Then he realized he's talking to a stranger. तो मुझे कुछ नहीं बताने का. Then after some time, slowly my challenge was to make him talk, and slowly he fell in line. He started talking to me. And initially he had his hands, his fingers did not have the grip. This 4 1/4 year, after 4 1/4, we tend to get, this is the finest grip where he hold the pencil. The children are taught to write only after 4 1/4 years. That's the reason. So that is the finest grip, which he was not able to hold anything. And so I carried with me 25 nuts and bolts. I used to make them open, close, make him do that. And subsequently, a feet first, a cosmetic thing, a treatment massager used to be there with me. I carried it there. I poured water in it, warmed the water, switched on the massager. I used to make him put his hands in it. And slowly, he started, talking. I started taking him out. Initially, there was a lot of resistance for him to come out. Okay. So subsequently, he came out of his, what you call shell, and he started, behaving like a gentleman. Lot of changes have come in him. And after a 6-month period or so, I conducted a memory test where he was able to do, along with the 16-year-old, children, he was able to do on par with them. So that was very nice. And after that, there was a status quo. And then after that, I told them, not to send him anymore because there was no further development. So what I would try to say is, it's very important. We can bring about change in anybody if we own it. If we own the case or we take it as a challenge, we can string the cord. It is not impossible. I don't agree if somebody says it's not possible to bring about change. If we change ourselves and we can bring about changes in people. So similar cases, lot of cases of that sort, but he's not giving me time to talk. So I conclude here. Anybody wants to ask anything specific, I'm most welcome.
Thank you, Shamla ji. And the whole idea of the fellowship is to kind of interact during the lunches and the tea while having your lunch and tea, and So thank you so much. Yeah, so that others also get a chance to speak. Yes, Roshni ji, you wanted to come up, is it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So in the interest of time, we're going to restrict it to 3 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Right. So once they say the moment you put in the time thing, it becomes smart, right? That's the whole concept of smart or something, right? That's what I've heard, yeah. Okay.
Hi, namaste everyone once again. Just a very small thing to share that true enough, everyone over here is far beyond what they have done and what they are doing comparatively to so many of us who might feel, oh, I'm still taking baby steps and whatever. But the important aspect of is to have the mindset to take the step. And to every one of us, it is just that we are mind conditioned that our environment, our outer world, our society is creating an incident. So 99% of us deals with that fact that because ये मेरे साथ हुआ इसीलिए मैं ऐसा बन गया और फिर मैंने ऐसा किया. But the very fact that that thing happened at that point of time was energetically there within us somewhere. So the belief factor of okay, because everything is happening around me, I'm becoming like this, needs to change in each one. And we need to know that everything, all the treasures, all the dirt, everything that is there, it's an amalgamation of what's inside. It is the side of the coin, as I said in the morning, that you choose to see. You flip it to you see heads, you flip it, you see tails. So if each one of us stands up to see what we really want to see and what we have to see for the change that we need to see, we cannot change anyone, we cannot change anything if we do not focus to change ourselves first. It is only then, that first step, that can change everything around us. To somebody like, I have a background of 21 years of films and media, worked with the sleaziest of the people to the slime balls of the Bollywood industry, so to speak. But everyone used to tell at that point of time, I come from a very middle class, lower middle class at that time, Parsi family, and everybody wondered why I wanted to go into the media, and everybody talked bad about the industry. And at that time, there was no connection, there was no profound thought process or reading. But the only thing I knew is the way I am, everybody is that way with me. If I am emitting that I'm available, then there will be that aspect. And I've worked with the worst people, and it can only be God's grace that never ever to be approached in a derogatory manner. I have worked with 200 people on the sets shouting my lungs out. But okay, so just a little bit that we all can make a difference with everything that we do, and thus be collaborative in putting our strengths together in this large pot of the universe and do things together, because there's nothing that can be done alone, but still everything can be done alone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roshni ji. So we have Rishi who's going to share his thought. 3 minutes and the whistle blows, yeah? Okay.
So I would like to share one of the most powerful experiences that I've ever had in my life. It was a year or so ago when I was actually trying to organize a sports day for the blind. So I was working with the Tech Mahindra Foundation back then, and we were supporting a few organizations that were dedicated to this cause. So the thing came in, and we were able to put together an event for 200 blind children where there would be track races and all kinds of sporting events. And like I was mentioning in the morning, volunteers. So that in that particular event, we had one volunteer put together with each of the children for all the track events. So what happened was, I was also put in charge. So there would be 10 people together competing for a race, because blind children can very much run. And we were just supposed to guide them holding their hands. So when I ran with a girl child of about 14 years for the first time, she was running and she was running and she was running. And after we reached the crossing line, I had to actually hold her back, saying, stop. The race is over. But the race wasn't over then. At least not for me, because the second question that she asked me is, Bhaiya, main kya aayi? Main kya aayi? And I had no answer. So something immediately struck me, and I said, tu first aaye. And I ran 5 more races with 5 more children that day, and sab bacche first hai. So this is something that we did to all the children to basically, make them feel good about it, and also to appreciate and celebrate their abilities. Thank you, Jerry. I'll just take 1 more minute. I'll just take 1 more minute. So the thing is, when I was dressing up this morning, I borrowed this shirt from my father. I wore a 5-year-old watch from my best friend. And I'm wearing, I can show them to you, but I'm wearing blue-colored woolen socks that the love of my life had gifted me some time ago because it was a special day. I'm sure everybody would have woken up for a special day today. And this is my vision for the future tomorrow, to kind of restore pride and faith and hope in all the sectors, whether the government is driving them, whether the corporates are driving them, or whether we as civil society are driving them. It's basically to have children go to school because they are going to be celebrated there. It's about having teachers come and teach because it's going to be a big celebration out there. So, and with it very closely, I'll take one more minute. I'm so sorry.
This is a coup.
So, with it very closely related is the organization that I'm working for right now, the Center for Civil Society, which talks about everything in terms of incentives and disincentives, wherein you do something because there's something for you in it. That's exactly the point that I wanted to make, that all of us are here because there's something for us in the whole thing. And it's absolutely okay to be, really driven by the thing, even if you are doing it for the others. Because as long as there's something in it for me, only then I'm going to be doing it for somebody else. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rishi. You kind of echoed a sentiment which I've been speaking about, that when you do something good for society, it is not selfless, it is selfish, because I live in the same society. So if I'm creating a better society, it's not just benefiting others, it's also benefiting me and my children and my family. So think about it like that. Thank you so much.